Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for September 13th, 2018. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest film and TV news. This is Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Soretta, and joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film writers Hoai-Tran Bui.
Hey, everyone.
And Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
Chris, it's great to have you back. You've been gone for a while in Toronto. I know we heard from you on Slash Film Daily while you were still up in Canada. But you didn't get to see anything since then, right? Because you were about to leave.
No, I saw like one or two or maybe three more things after I did that episode. So, yes.
Was there anything good out of those three movies?
I mean, no, there were.
By the way, I want to preface this because, like, that reaction, a lot of people don't understand. When you go to a film festival, you see, like, a couple dozen movies. Like, there's a lot of movies and it starts to blur together. So I'm sure that reaction is a combination of you not being able to recall what those last three movies were and it being not memorable, right?
Yeah, it's a blur. I saw 15 movies in like 5 days, which, you know, I know it sounds like it's not a big deal. Like, oh, watching movies, that can't be hard. But trust me, if you're doing like 4 or 5 movie days, it gets exhausting. There was one day I watched 5 movies back to back without any time to break, and you know, by the end of the day, you're ready to crawl into a crypt. So you know, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because I love doing it. I love going to TIFF. I love watching movies, but it is a lot of hard work, believe it or not.
Oh, for sure. I there's been sometimes I've been at like Sundance or Toronto and I've been like writing up a review of a movie, and I like actually had to turn to someone that was listening to me like, wait, did this happen in this movie or was that, because especially at Sundance, probably not as much at Toronto, but there's a lot of the same kind of storylines, and it seems like every year there seems to be like the same kind of like, I remember one year, like, there was like 5 movies about people having to return home to their childhood home because one of their, either their mom or dad is dying, and them
classic indie story.
Yeah. So you like seeing 5 movies in a day, you kind of have to sort it out a bit. But let's, so out of those 3 movies you've seen since, you recorded, was there anything good? No?
There was nothing I would say that really blew me away. So yeah, I saw Hold the Dark after that, which was very good. My review went up on slashfilm.com last night. So out of everything I saw after recording that episode, that's probably the best film. Jeremy Saulnier's Hold the Dark, which will be on Netflix eventually.
Cool, with no promotion probably. But we will link your review in the show notes in case people want to read about that. Let's start off today. Yesterday we were talking all about this news that Henry Cavill might be out as Superman in the Warner Brothers DCEU. There was conflicting reports going back and forth. It seems like it's just the Superman movie is not happening for the foreseeable future, and especially not with Henry. But Henry posted this cryptic Instagram post. HT, you wrote this up for the site. Can you describe this Instagram post? Because it's weird.
It is very strange. So shortly after the reports yesterday surfaced that Cavill was out as Superman, he posted a video of himself in a t-shirt that had the words Krypton Lifting Team on the chest, and he was staring intensely at the camera while slowly raising and lowering a Superman action figure, this being a Superman action figure based on his own character in Man of Steel and Justice League. And this was all choreographed to the tune of Johann Strauss's second, The Blue Danube Waltz, which was punctuated by the sounds of dogs barking. So it was a very strange video overall. And the caption said, "Today was exciting," with the hashtag Superman. So I don't know what to make of this video. What do you guys make of it?
What could that song choice even mean? Or do you think that was just like playing in his gym or wherever he recorded this video? Like, do you think there's like any like subtle meaning behind any of this? Like, I don't even understand him raising this action figure into frame and then lowering it, what that means.
So for dogs, I'm going to put my conspiracy hat on. Maybe it's a reference to the classic song, Who Let the Dogs Out? Which in turn is a reference to information spilling. I don't know. I have no idea.
Chris, do you have any?
I think it's just trolling.
Chris, do you have any theories? Like, I don't know, why is he? What did he call it? Exciting news, or?
I think he said it was an exciting day or something.
Day.
Today was exciting.
I don't know. This whole thing sounds very strange. I mean, I fully believe that he was out, but the fact that he posted that Instagram thing, I don't know what to make of it. A part of me wonders if this is all part of some like big elaborate like contract negotiation where his agents are trying to get him even more money and they're making a big thing about how he's leaving, even though he's not really leaving. But I don't really know. I have no idea what's going on, and I don't think Warner Brothers does either.
I think that's probably a good assessment. I don't know. I just feel like this video, I almost want to go, old school Lost and try to like analyze it frame by frame. There must be some kind of hidden meaning here somewhere, but I'm just not seeing it. It just seems weird. But let's move on to American Gods, which is a series that I watched a couple episodes of, but I stopped watching. I just couldn't get through season 1. There's some weird stuff going on behind the scenes with season 2. They've lost a showrunner, and problems are plaguing the production. Chris, what do we know?
Yeah, this is a big mess. At the end of American Gods season 1, the original showrunners, Michael Green and Brian Fuller, were both fired by by Starz and the production company. And the reason for their firing was cited as budgetary. Apparently, they wanted too much money for season 2. And after they were fired, Jesse Alexander was brought in to be the new showrunner. But apparently, according to this very detailed, very troubling report in the Hollywood Reporter, there's been problems pretty much ever since Jesse Alexander came in. And what's going on here seems to be that on one level, Neil Gaiman, who wrote the book American Gods, was really unhappy with how Michael Green and Brian Fuller changed a lot of stuff from his book. They didn't really stay 100% true to the source material. And even though I personally would have never thought this of Neil Gaiman, this apparently really ticked him off to the point where he wanted them gone. And so that's part of the reason they got fired. And part of the reason Jesse Alexander came in was because Gaiman thought he would do a better job sticking to the novel. The problem is the cast is very loyal to Fuller and Green, and they really hate what Jesse Alexander is doing. They don't like the direction he's taking things. They think the way he's changing the characters is a betrayal of how they were portrayed in the first season. And on top of that, even though the show is set to premiere very soon, the season's for to premiere very soon, they haven't even finished shooting it yet, the season as a whole. There's not even a script yet for the finale, so everything is a mess. And then on top of all that, Jesse Alexander has apparently been fired. No one is saying the words fired, but he's basically been asked to stop working on the show entirely, which, sounds like he was fired. So right now, everything is up in the air, and this whole second season is a serious mess.
Chris, are you still watching American Gods?
I finished the first season. I love the first season, and even though I'm a huge Neil Gaiman fan, I actually don't like the book. So I was really happy with the changes Fuller and Green did. I actually think they made the show better than the book, but apparently Neil Gaiman didn't think so. So it didn't work out.
I was actually I'm kind of on the opposite end of Chris, in that I really liked the book, and it's my favorite Neil Gaiman book just because he has a tendency to write sort of vignettes, and he has a real talent for that. And I think American Gods does a good job of kind of weaving together all these smaller vignettes in this on-the-road story. But I have to admit that the show and the book are entirely different beasts. And while I wasn't happy with all the choices that Brian Fuller did, I did like the show and respect it for like how far out it went. And to try to change it back to Gaiman's vision, just like it seems very like it would clash a lot with what they were doing in the first place.
Does all this news of all these problems that are plaguing this production, like, does that make you not want to watch season 2?
it makes me nervous for season 2, especially considering how good the cast is and how well the first season worked, despite some like stylistic choices I was not crazy about. I don't know how I feel about it, especially because the new showrunner was supposedly going through some changing it up to make it more conventional, according to the report, which Starz was not happy about, which seems very opposite to what was going on with season 1.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where it lost me. It was so unconventional. Chris, are you going to watch season 2?
I mean, I will definitely give it a try when it airs, but yeah, I feel like at this point the show is a lost cause, and I almost wish it had just been canceled after season 1, so none of this nonsense would be happening. Okay,
let's move on to Kevin Smith, who is a filmmaker and podcaster. He's been talking recently about the secret project that he's working on, a dream project. And he has now revealed that dream project is actually not a movie, but a TV series. HT, what do we know?
So a few months ago, Kevin Smith teased that he's working on a new mystery project that will reportedly be his biggest IP ever. And now he revealed on a recent episode of his podcast, Fat Man on Batman, which will soon be undergoing a title rebrand, he said that it's a TV series and not a movie, as many people speculated. A lot of people speculated that it would be a Marvel or a Star Wars movie, but it's in fact a TV show, which he did not confirm what it was. He said in the podcast, quote, "I know I'm being vague. I wish I could effing tell you. And the moment I can tell you, man, I'm going to be like, blah, so on." And he says, this is a serious thing, but it's a dynamite series in a real weird, wonderful place. So more as I know more. So, unquote. And he was vague, but it seems like he's very excited about it, and that it will be a TV series with a very massive IP, as he said.
This is getting me speculating because, he's worked on some big IPs. Like, he's, directed episodes of all those CW, like, DC shows, like The Flash. Those are pretty big IPs, right? Mm-hmm. So
and he's written comics too for a bunch of big DC Comics properties like Daredevil. Oh no, Daredevil's Marvel, but yeah. Green Arrow and Batman.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what this could be. I mean, the only thing that can be bigger than DC and IP to me sounds like Marvel or Star Wars. Do you guys have any insane guesses here? No.
I don't know.
Not really.
No, I don't know. Like, I just don't know what would be so exciting to Kevin Smith that, he hasn't done, because he has, like you said, he's dipped his toes in Marvel, in comic books. I really think it has to be Marvel or Star Wars. So if he's doing like a Marvel or Star Wars series for Disney streaming or, Disney Channel or Disney XD, that would be pretty insane. But I don't know. Do you think someone like Kathleen Kennedy or Kevin Feige would hire Kevin Smith?
I think Feige definitely would. I'm not sure about Kathleen Kennedy because she seems very much on the lines of relying on reliable directors, old hands. And Smith is definitely very much a geek, which I think Feige is too. I think they share that in common. So I could see it being a Marvel series.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like some kind of insane Marvel property that can't be done, in the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe but could be done like kind of in its own offshoot TV series that would be, a comedy kind of in the comedy realm that Kevin Smith could kind of handle. I don't know. We'll keep our eyes on this. Hopefully it's not, some kind of disappointing news that none of us care about. We all get worked up over the hype. And it's probably going to be some project, some IP that we don't even, it's going to be like, another Degrassi movie or something. Let's move on to our next story, which is about Apple, it's iTunes, deleting movies that people have bought on the service. Chris, tell us about it.
Yeah, so I've talked about this before, but I'm a big proponent of physical media, and here's yet another reason why I really think everyone should stick with physical media. A Twitter user pointed out that a few days ago, three digital movie titles he had bought on iTunes were just gone from his library, even though he paid for them. And he contacted Apple. He said, what the hell is going on here? And Apple basically summed it up by saying, even though you bought these movies, you don't really own them. The distributor owns them. And if the distributor decides to pull them off of, iTunes for whatever reason, they're gone. They're out of your library forever. And there's literally nothing you can do about it, because when you buy something on iTunes, you're not actually buying the movie. You're buying a license to watch the movie, basically. And this is like revoking that license. So,
and technically, when you're buying physical media, you're also not buying the movie. You're buying the license to watch it. But a studio can't come into your house.
They're not going to come in through your window and take the Blu-ray. At least I hope not. But so that's where it stands, and it sucks. I get it. I get why a lot of people want to switch to digital media. It's a lot more convenient. It certainly takes up a lot less space. I mean, I have an upstairs room which is pretty much just overflowing with Blu-rays at this point, just because I have so much physical media. And I get the idea of not wanting to have that, but physical media, man, it's a lot better than this. You're not going to have to deal with problems like this. And, I also know that studios want things to switch to digital. That's why when things come out on home video now, studios usually release them digitally weeks before the physical copy comes out, just because they want everyone to buy the digital copy, because it's cheaper that way. They wouldn't have to manufacture as many physical copies. And it sucks. There's not really a good answer here. I'm going to keep buying physical Blu-rays until they're no longer available. But and then I guess I'll deal with it, whatever happens next.
When the robots take over.
Yes.
Anybody listening to the podcast knows that I'm the one person on staff. Actually, HT, you are kind of digital, right?
I buy DVDs for movies that I really enjoy and that I know I will rewatch over and over again.
Yeah, well, I think I'm the most proponent of digital media and owning things digitally rather than physical. So I would like a chance to defend the digital media here. Now, this sucks. It really does suck. This shouldn't happen. It should be mentioned that this isn't just an Apple problem. This is also a problem on other digital services. So if you buy your movies on like Amazon, this could happen on Amazon. It's not just isolated to Apple TV and iTunes. That said, there are services that won't do this. That when you buy something, it stays in your digital locker. It's like Vudu. Not that I'm a fan of Vudu, but also if you own any digital movies, you should be on moviesanywhere.com, which links up your digital accounts. So if you have bought something on iTunes and it's of one of the major studios that's participating in Movies Anywhere, your movie will be unlocked in Movies Anywhere and Vudu and on Amazon all across the board. So technically, if one of these services like iTunes removes the movie, you'll still have the movie somewhere. You might have to go searching for it. I don't know. The other thing I wanted to say is, I don't know, guys. I know this sucks, and I know you think about it like a lot of people, especially responding to your post, which was very emotional, and fighting for physical media, Chris. We're responding to that on Twitter and on the site, being like, F digital. I'm gonna stick to physical. This is why I'm gonna stick to physical media. And you know what? I own hundreds of movies on digital. This has never happened to me. This is not something that happens every day. This is, this is a thing that's like a percentage of 1/100% or something like that this could possibly happen. Now, I understand some people out there are that's enough for them. They're like, just even the idea that something like this could happen. I'm not going to invest my money in digital because, who knows? Apple could just decide tomorrow to remove my whole entire collection. I don't think that's going to happen. I know a lot of people, even book lovers, were there was like a whole controversy a few years ago because Amazon Kindle, there have been book publishers that have removed books that were on Amazon Kindle from your library. you don't own those books as well. And there's a lot of people upset over that. So, I mean, this can happen anywhere with digital. I'm sure it could even happen in the video game space if you own a digital video game. But I don't know. I feel like physical media could eventually degrade, Chris. And I feel like I've lost a lot of movies by lending them out to friends. I know that's probably a bad example.
I picture one day, nuclear war is going to break out, and somehow I'll survive with all my Blu-rays, and then my glasses will fall off like that Twilight Zone episode, and I won't be able to watch them.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I still have Blu-rays. It's not like I've gotten rid of my entire physical media collection, but I don't know. I don't think this is like as big of a problem as I think people are making it out to be. And also, it should be mentioned that in response to our story, one of our readers, Dan Von Carr, responded on Twitter, quote, "This happened to me a few months ago. Same email, same free rentals. And then a few days later, my movies showed up again. Turns out they were getting 4K upgrades." So, I'm not going to say that, this particular case might be outrage over nothing, but maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe the studio is replacing their copies with a new 4K scan of these movies. Like, they're I know I'm playing devil's advocate here, but like, you also have to look on the bright side of this, Chris. Like, maybe you'll lose one title out of your, 500 title library, but how many of those titles are upgraded for free to 4K? I mean, that's not something that can happen with physical media, right?
That is a good point. I'll give you that, but I don't know. I have a really hard time letting it go. I was even one of those weirdos when DVD started getting popular. I was so angry because I had so many VHS tapes, and I was like, I'm never giving up VHS, and of course I did. So you never say never.
I was one of those assholes that had like a huge VHS collection that was like the widescreen version VHS, which cost like double the money at like Best Buy. Yeah, like those like and Titanic on a 2 VHS, you had to like stop it midway and put the second tape in.
I still have that copy.
Oh, you still have that copy?
Yeah, it's somewhere lying around.
HT, does the news that, studios could pull the digital copies from your digital library, does that make you less likely to invest in digital movies?
Yeah, it bums me out, and I probably would not invest as much in digital movies, or at least try to find an alternative where I would be able to keep them. Because Apple said that they were just a storefront. Is there any other service that does not follow the same sort of ramifications as that? Like, are there other services?
Supposedly Vudu doesn't.
Okay.
And also it should be mentioned that if you own a movie on iTunes, you can download the movie, and I don't believe they can delete that file from your computer. So I think this only affects people that are trying to stream the movie from Apple servers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm mostly on streaming services like that, or digital services. I usually just rent movies, but if I want to keep them, then I probably would download it just for safekeeping. Then maybe burn it onto a DVD. I don't know if we can do that anymore. Computers don't even have little CD outlets anymore.
Yeah, I don't even have a disk drive in my MacBook Pro. No, and you know what? It should also be mentioned. Like, I feel like I don't even have that huge of a digital library. I used to have, at my peak, I think I had like 3,000 DVDs, and right now on my Apple TV, I think I probably have a couple hundred movies, maybe a few hundred movies, like really not that many. And because I think I do what you do, HT, it's just so cheap to rent. Usually it's like $3 to $5 to rent, $3 to $6 to rent a movie, and to buy it digitally, it's still like $15-$20 usually. I have talked about in the past, the only reason I own a lot of movies is because I had a lot of digital copies that came with my physical media. And if you look online, if you look on eBay, there's services online where you can buy digital movie codes. you can often buy those digital movie codes for like $1 or $2 more than it costs to rent the movie on iTunes or Apple TV. So I have for a while now just been buying those just because I'm willing to pay $1 or $2 more, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna, unless it's a movie I love, I don't think I'm gonna watch it, the 4 or 5 times required for me to make my money back if I buy it. That said, buying it's the only way you can get the special features, which is something I love, which I'm missing a lot of. But I guess that's not stopping a lot of people out there, right? Like, a lot of people I think are probably going towards just renting, this doesn't affect renters, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So, if anybody has any thoughts on that are listening, send your thoughts to peter@slashfilm.com. Maybe we will read some emails in a future mailbag episode. But I get, Chris, did you have any last thoughts on the issue? Because I didn't want to make it a whole defense, but I feel like I had to defend my love for digital media.
I think you made some very good points. I don't know. I will, and while I acknowledge that one day I do think a lot of studios are going to do away with their physical copies, I do think there's always going to be boutique labels like Shout Factory and Criterion putting out physical copies. It'll basically be like what vinyl is now, where vinyl used to be the standard, and now it's like a niche collector's item. And I do think eventually, physical media for Blu-rays will turn into that, and I'm not looking forward to it. So we'll see what happens.
Mondo will be putting out all the Blu-rays of the future in collectible artwork. They'll cost $50 a piece, probably. That is our future. Let's move on to our last and final story, and that is that someone is demanding South Park's cancellation. And that person actually is South Park. HT, tell us about it.
Yeah, so South Park, the long-running animated comedy that has been on Comedy Central since 1997, is teasing its own cancellation. The new trailer for season 22 of the South Park show basically teased a possible cancellation. And if you check out the South Park Twitter, there is a hashtag with almost all of their recent tweets saying "cancel South Park." Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators for the series, have been teasing this the end of the series since 2011 in one episode, which they kind of referenced the end of the show, or at least being fed up with their own show. And it seems like this could possibly be the end.
Now, I know no one on this podcast still watches South Park, so we're probably the worst sample for this. I know I was a big fan of this show early on. I was one of those people that had that like Spirit of Christmas episode on VHS that I bought from some comic convention or something before South Park even was on the air. I watched those first few seasons. I think everybody was kind of caught up in those first few seasons, but somewhere along the line, it kind of got away from me, kind of like The Simpsons has. Like, it's been so many years, and I don't, I've seen some things. I've seen like the member berries and stuff. So I don't know. I'm just wondering, is South Park even that big of a part of the pop culture landscape today? I do know a lot of people reference the member berries. So, Chris, do you have any thoughts?
I don't want to besmirch the show because I know there are people who are still fans of it, but I'm of the mindset that literally no show should run for more than 20 years. That's just insane. Even shows I love with all my heart, I don't want them to run that long because there's only so many stories you can tell. I mean, I was a huge Simpsons fan, and I'm one of those people who can quote almost every line from The Simpsons for its first 8 or 9 seasons, but after that, the show got really bad, and it's still on to this day, and it really should not be. I think it's people have a hard time letting things go, and it's okay. Sometimes things should end, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just let it sail off into the sunset.
HG, do you have any thoughts on this? I know that you haven't really ever watched South Park.
No. I do think it's still part of the landscape today. I have plenty of friends who do reference and talk about South Park frequently, but I don't think it's quite the behemoth it used to be.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if this season 22, will be the end of South Park. I mean, it seems like they're kind of setting it up as such, but you never know. Even if it was the end, we live in a world that there's a Roseanne, TV series on television, that Will and Grace is still on, and like all these, like Fuller House. Even if this were to come to an end, like, I imagine that it would come back from the dead, 5-10 years from now. If there's money to be made, they'll find a way. But it is interesting, especially with these animated series where it's, not as tied to actors, and especially when the filmmakers themselves provide a lot of the voices for the show. Like, you can kind of keep on going for as long as they want if there's a market for it. But it's just I guess time for Trey Parker and Matt Stone to reevaluate, like, what is South Park doing for society today, and like, is it do they feel like their best work is coming out right now, or is it something that has kind of suffered from that 22-year timeline? But yeah, anyways, that does it for today's Slash Film Daily. Chris, where can people find more of your work online?
I'm at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at cevangelista413.
HD, where can we find you?
I'm every day at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at htranbui.
And you can find me at slashfilm on all social media. You can find all the stories we talked about today on slashfilm.com and linked in the show notes. Slash Film Daily is published every weekday on iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. As always, send your feedback, questions, comments, concerns to Peter at slashfilm.com. We are going to be doing a mailbag episode either tomorrow or next week with all mailbag questions. So if you have a question for us, if you want to know what our favorite comedy of all time is, the worst movie we've ever seen, whatever, I'm just throwing ideas out there. Send your questions to us at Peter at slashfilm.com, and it'll surely probably make it on the air next week. So please go rate and read this podcast on iTunes. Tell your friends, spread the word, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cool, guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I will talk to you online.
All right.
Bye.
Oh my God, Aaron Paul's joining Westworld?
Yeah, it's crazy.